Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to take a deep dive into an absolute modern engineering marvel, cement manufacturing. Now, if you're studying civil engineering, you already know that cement is literally the foundation of our modern world. But the process of how we actually make it, well, that has undergone a massive revolutionary shift over the last few decades, one that has fundamentally changed the footprint of heavy industry.
All right, let's jump right into the massive engineering problem we used to face. Historically, the industry relied on what was known as the wet process, where raw materials were mixed into this thick liquid slurry. But here's the problem. You had to evaporate 35 to 50% of that water inside the kiln before any actual chemical reaction could even begin. That was incredibly inefficient. It took 1,500 kilocalories of fuel for just 1 kilogram of clinker. By shifting to the modern dry solution, we basically engineered that wasted energy right out of the equation, slashing fuel consumption down to just 800 kilocalories.
So, to understand exactly how this efficiency is achieved, we're going to map out the continuous chronological journey of a stone as it travels through 6 distinct stages of a modern plant: the shift to dry process, extraction and crushing, blending the raw meal, the rotary kiln, final grinding and packing, and finally, why the dry process wins.
Stage 1. The shift to dry process, modernizing the industry.
We're going to start by looking at the layout that completely revolutionized material processing for civil engineers. This gives us a true bird's-eye view of the whole flow, tracking our raw material from the limestone boulders arriving from the mines, straight through the preheaters into the rotary kiln, and finally down to the cement silos and packing unit. And here's the key. By keeping the material dry from the start, we can utilize a 4-stage preheater right before the kiln. That is a setup that simply wasn't possible when we were dealing with a wet slurry. Moving on to stage 2, extraction and crushing, journey of the stone. Our journey begins right at the source, where sheer scale meets raw mechanical power. Massive rocks, we're talking primarily calcareous limestone, and argillaceous materials like clay or shale are blasted in these expansive quarries. From there, they're transported to colossal pieces of equipment, specifically the stacker and reclaimer. The stacker deposits the crushed limestone longitudinally. Basically, it builds an enormous pile that is usually 250 to 300 meters long. Then, the reclaimer comes in and cuts that pile vertically, all at once, from top to bottom. It's kind of like slicing a massive layer cake, and this ensures we get perfectly homogenized layers of limestone before the material even enters the plant. Now, obviously, getting those huge boulders down to size requires some heavy-duty reduction, and that happens in 2 steps. In primary crushing, you've got these massive jaw or gyratory crushers literally shattering the large quarried boulders. Then, the secondary crushers take over, bringing those big rocks down to small, manageable fragments, usually just about 15 to 25 millimeters in size.
Stage 3. Blending the raw meal. The chemistry begins.
Okay, once crushed, we run into a really fascinating challenge. We need to mix these dry fragments perfectly, but we can't use a single drop of water to make a slurry. First, the materials are ground into a fine powder called raw meal. Automated systems step in to carefully proportion the materials, ensuring we hit the exact chemical ratio, specifically targeting what's known as the lime saturation factor. But here is the absolute secret weapon of the dry process. High-pressure compressed air is blown right into the bottom of the blending silos to agitate that fine powder. It aerates the mixture so intensely that this completely dry powder literally flows and behaves like a liquid. In just about 1 hour of aeration, you get a perfectly uniform blended mixture.
Which brings us to stage 4, the rotary kiln, the heart of the process. That beautifully homogenized dry powder is now fed directly into the rotary kiln. Think of this as a massive, rotating steel cylinder lined with refractory bricks. It's the true heart of the plant. Inside this kiln, the material is subjected to absolutely extreme temperatures, usually hovering between 1,300 to 1,500 degrees Celsius. This intense heat drives off gases and forces a really profound thermochemical transformation in the raw meal. So the crucial takeaway here is understanding exactly what comes out of that burning zone. This intense process, which is called clinkering, fuses the raw chemistry into Bogue's compounds. The result? These small, super hard nodules known as clinker. And it's a really fascinating intermediate product because as it drops out of the cooler, it remains completely chemically inert. It simply won't react with water at all until it's finally ground. Stage 5, final grinding and packing, the engineering finish. So as that clinker comes out of the cooler, it's inert, right?
But once we grind it, it actually sets way too quickly with water. That means we need one final, highly crucial engineering step. During the final grinding phase, the clinker is fed into a cement mill, usually a massive rotating ball mill packed with heavy steel balls. But crucially, about 2 to 3% gypsum is added to the mix. This gypsum acts as a vital chemical retarder. Without it, the cement would experience what's called flash setting. Literally, it would harden almost instantly the second water is added. The gypsum prevents this, ensuring that when the cement finally hits a construction site, the workers actually have the time they need to pour and finish the concrete properly.
This fine grinding is ultimately what builds out our final product specification. The finished Portland cement is milled to a highly specific fineness, giving it a target-specific surface area, known as Blaine's value, of approximately 225 square meters per kilogram. This vast surface area is exactly what allows the cement to hydrate properly and gain its incredible strength. Once it hits that precise target, it's pumped straight into silos for bagging and bulk dispatch.
Finally, Stage 6, why dry process wins, the ultimate comparison.
Stepping back from the plant for a second, let's lock in why civil engineering overwhelmingly relies on this exact method today. This comparison says it all. By dealing with a fine dry powder instead of a slurry loaded with up to 50% water, the dry process allows for significantly shorter kiln structures. Now, while the older wet process did make it a bit easier to homogenize the slurry, the modern dry process tackles that by utilizing that sophisticated air blending we talked about. And the massive payoff? Fuel efficiency. It literally cuts fuel consumption almost in half, dropping from 1,500 kilocalories all the way down to just 800 per kilogram of clinker.
So as you head out into the field as future civil engineers, I want you to keep asking how we can engineer smarter, much more efficient solutions for the foundational materials of our world. Think about it. If simply using compressed air to blend dry powder revolutionized cement's massive fuel demands and totally reshaped global infrastructure, what other heavy industrial processes are out there just waiting for a similar brilliant breakthrough? Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and definitely stay curious out there.